FM.
Okay, I asked the question, in fact, today on Champion South Africa's platforms, like what does it take to build a champion nation? One of them is certainly to build up and empower people to become champion people. That is why when we have champions in our midst, that we want to cover their champion stories. One such person is Dr. Reza Mia, and he's my guest right now. Reza, assalamu alaikum.
For having me.
Reza, assalamu alaikum. Good to connect with you.
Walaikum salam. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, great. Okay. Yes, I certainly can. Thank you. Right. I mean, you're a medical doctor on the one hand, but that's another whole story completely, because you do fabulous work there. But the specific reference now, 2 days ago we highlighted the role of Elon Musk. We highlighted the role of black coffee, and I can go on with a whole lot more. But I think the role of Dr. Reza Mia, again, as a South African doing certain things that has a global impact, needs to be amplified. So perhaps you need to be telling us what's all the fuss about.
So I think it's around our airplane. There's a new invention that we've come up with. We've been working on it for about 10 years, but it's called the Pegasus Vertical Business Jet. And it's basically an airplane that takes off like a helicopter and flies like a plane, but brings together all of the safety of both of those types of planes with the convenience of a helicopter, and then flies at 4 times the range and speed. So what's unique about it, apart from that aspect, is that we've been working on it completely here in South Africa. We've now recently partnered with a company in the UK for the control systems that do the automation and flight controls. But the rest of it we've been working on here locally with our local engineers.
Okay, when you say we, right? I mean, you say we and you say Pegasus. So who's we in this?
So it's me, and we've got some very highly efficient and qualified engineers working on the project, a few local companies as well, to do some of the work that we feel didn't warrant us hiring people into the company because the work wouldn't be sufficient to keep them busy. So in that case, we just outsource to these companies.
All right, got that. I mean, I remember the first time I met up with you, that's what you told me, you guys are working on this. So, I mean, do I take it that at some stage it moves away from working on the project to mainstreaming this project where there's, commercial acceptance? Is that where you are now?
So what we're doing is we're building onto the project as we go, working on the engineering side of it to make sure that it's acceptable to the world for people to be able to buy in and to make investments or to place orders on the airplane. And I think the further along you get in the project, the easier it is for people to do that. And it does need some validation as you go. People like to see, especially when it's the first time that someone's doing something in the world, they want to know that it's possible. And so that's why we've flown, an 8-scale model. We've just finished building 2 quarter-scale models, which have a 4-meter wingspan. And it was actually featured in a Paramount Pictures movie called The Lost City, which is coming out here later on this month. So for us, that's a nice global platform and a global endorsement, if you could see it that way, because, a movie company like Paramount could pick any plane in the world, but they chose our plane, which was quite exciting for us.
Yeah. How did that come about? Because I mean, at some stage you're still planning and you're prototyping. I understand that, but then you get a global movie company saying, "Okay, while you're planning, we think it's safe enough because clearly it's workable to want to use it in a movie." How did that come about?
So they saw it. They saw the concept. I think they were looking for something that would be cutting edge but realistic, not something that was sci-fi. They didn't want to turn that movie into a sci-fi movie. So they were looking for a plane and they found ours. I'm sure they found it on the internet and they got in touch with us to ask us if they could use it. So most of the flying scenes, it's all CGI, but the cabin is a built-up cabin. They built a mock-up. So all the scenes where the people are sitting inside it is an actual cabin that they've built.
Okay. How, therefore, so you say it's launching in South Africa by the end of this month and worldwide? What's the position there?
It started in the US, I think, on the 20th of March, and has already given us some nice attention. And we've already started getting queries from different people and companies.
Because I mean, I think the obvious thing is you need to leverage off that. You need to leverage off the fact that whether people are aware of it or not, you can literally shout from the rooftop to say, that's our vertical business jet, and you're doing that, right?
We are. So mainly on our social media, but whenever we get a chance on regular media. We do the same thing. The logo is featured in the movie, so that's a nice indicator. And I think in the credits, it does say Pegasus Universal Aerospace, and also in the opening credits, there's some blueprints of the plane. So it does point people towards us.
And the key feature of it, and I think you touched it in your intro, that it can lift like a helicopter, so it doesn't need a runway. I think that's significant. But thereafter, it's not a helicopter; it's a jet, right? How did I mean? Give us an insight into the background behind that.
So I wanted to get involved in business. And I studied a bit widely. I did an MBA, a finance master's, and I just looked at different fields and different areas of business. And I thought, which ones are the big ones, the exciting ones? Where can we make a big impact with our effort? And it was property, ships, and airplanes. And I found of all of those, I thought I always loved aviation. I've always loved planes. And so maybe I should look into how we can do something in that field. And then, thinking about it, just what would make it unique? If we build a plane here, why would someone buy it? It can't be just a regular business jet. It needed a new element. And so, just brainstorming, I found the gap was in the VTOL, the vertical takeoff and landing, because there isn't a passenger plane that can do that to the level that we are aiming at. And I found engineers to start working on conceptual design studies on different elements of the plane. And once we found a route that seemed to be likely to work, we then did de-risking exercises of the key, the critical elements of the plane. And that's kind of how we've gotten to where we are. It's just step by step, without
Okay.
any major investments or funding
Well, I
from
mean,
the
I
outside.
take it if it really delivers, then you get your investors, and hopefully all that will come. Because maybe another conversation is required on this one. Yeah, that ultimately, I mean, you would change the landscape. And I'm thinking about motor cars, and I'm thinking about taxi drivers, and I'm thinking about how Uber has done just that, right? That at some stage, are you going to get pushback from established airline companies?
No, I don't think so. I think that this is a different size of plane. It's only made for about 7 people. It's a business jet size. So you could use it for things like sea rescue or air ambulances, policing, but you're not really creeping into the realm of commercial airplanes
Yeah,
and
big,
airlines.
big numbers. Yeah. Just lastly, and yeah, I'd love to have another chat with you some other time. What is it? I've emphasized the point about you know getting people to sort of switching on champion thinking, and yours is a good example of dreaming bigger and therefore champion thinking that manifests in what you do now. Explain how, and I know your whole family, so we don't go into that part. But what has influenced you to be so switched on as a champion thinker?
I think that's a very nice compliment, so thank you. But for me, it's just to never stop moving forward. You achieve one thing, you shouldn't rest on your laurels. You shouldn't see studying as a degree and now I'm finished and now I work and then I die. You should be always learning something new, exploring what you are passionate about. So it's not seen anymore as a task or as a labor. It's almost that you can't, when you pick up a book that you find interesting on the topic that you want to learn about, you can't really put it down. When you watch a movie, you're always watching it. When you're watching a documentary, you're always putting it on while you're doing other things. But it's just to always find a way that works for you, that will keep you learning and keep you engaging, but also not to lose the creativity that we get as children. I think
And
if more
yeah.
adults actually played with toys, they'd have more creativity because they'd be using that side of their brain.
That's a good point. Lastly, for you, what is your purpose? What's your life's purpose?
So I actually recently put up a new website called Dr. Reza Innovations, and it's basically to bring together all of the elements of ideas and concepts to see how we can change the planet for the better. So what do we do with all of the people that we possibly won't have enough space for? What do we do to feed all these people? How do we make sure that the quality of life doesn't reduce over time as the planet starts to become saturated and can't really provide? So that's what that's all about. It's about how we can use stem cells to create meat without animals and how we can look into space travel, how we can create organ tissue using 3D printing and stem cells so that we can, reduce the need for organ transplantations and that type of thing. So it's all
Okay.
just about finding how we can all work together to make the planet better and more sustainable.
Well, there you are. So Elon Musk has got his ideas of moving to Mars, and you've got another way of doing solutions. And both of you are basically born in South Africa. Quite fascinating, Dr. Reza Mia. Glad to feature you as one of the champion people sharing your champion story. Thank you so much, and assalamu alaikum.
Only a pleasure. Thank you. Walaikum salam. Bye.
There we are. That is so fascinating. Let's then move on to two other takes. We're going to talk about the Soweto Mosque. In fact, not we're going to do it. We're going to talk about the how-to around Ramadan, a very specific issue coming up next.